Hey everybody, before we get started, I just want to remind you this episode is brought to you by patrons like Ida Comics, Qua, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Nestor Flores, Soda-Sun024, and VideoGamer75. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it really helps us out. Thanks for your support, everybody. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is time, once again, to talk about Star Wars Legion by Fantasy Flight Games. So, double shocking nobody, because of several reasons. Today we're going to talk about the newly announced Iden Versio and Cassian Andor and K2SO, and I guess I should say Iden Versio and ID 10 expansion packs. We got some 2 expansion packs. They're kind of double stack commander expansions, so they're a little bit more expensive than normal because there's an extra mini in there and some stuff, and we'll talk about that especially with Cassian and K2 in a second. But yeah, so hey, it's finally announced. It's cool. It's coming out. So I will double check once more. But previously, as of the time of recording this, they have not appeared on the upcoming page. So, vital assets, paint, operatives, bunker, pod, upgrade packs, tanks, droids. Yeah, so as of the recording, they are not on the upcoming page. Now, FFG says Q1 of this year, and they are before the tanks and the second Clone Wars core units. I don't know if they'll actually come out then, though, because it's kind of like a Rex Dooku situation where clearly these guys are obviously a little further up the pipeline than, you know, the second blob of Clone Wars units, but also they're announced way later, so I don't know when they'll actually come out. I'm personally expecting these are probably not going until March, maybe April, especially if other stuff gets pushed back. We'll see. But as of yet, their exact date isn't known. The article says Q1, but the we should probably discard that because that's not even a nomenclature FFG is using anymore. That's just what the marketing intern puts there. But yeah, so as said before, this is not a surprise for 2 reasons. One, well, first off, it's not a surprise because this has been leaked for like forever. Manufacturers have been saying this is coming with a description that revealed they would have extra minis in them for like forever. I think it's been like 2 months since the first leak happened, and then another one just a while ago that reminded everybody. So yeah, that was a pretty known quantity. And 2, I mentioned this on our video about Vital Assets, the new Battlefield expansion, which you should totally check out because Vital Assets looks awesome. But anyway, enough shilling for my own videos. FFG said that there would be 5 new products in 3 articles, and after delays from last week, they said that it would be this week. So yeah, this is like a double not surprise. But there are some surprising things about the units, so let's go ahead and dive into those, and we'll start with Cassian. The Cassian and K2 expansion. Now obviously in this image, stuff's a little small, so we'll have to, do some referring to some stuff, but we can see the spread there. So, I think the first thing, well, there's a couple first things, but the first interesting thing here is that you'll notice it appears that K2 is not an counterpart. I almost said operative. He probably is an operative because there's 3 order tokens in here, which is presumably one for operative K2, one for Cassian as a commander, and one for Cassian as an operative because of reasons, much like that little sub-token. Oh, and maybe there's some other stuff. But yeah, so it appears that at least as far as normal counterpart rules, K2 is not. K2 does not have a counterpart card, because, spoilers for the Iden slide you're going to see in a second, with her, Dio is clearly a counterpart card, as we've seen with C-3PO, so this is very, very interesting. But from what we can see, Cassian looks to be about 90 points, and then K2 is 70. Some people have said 50. It's obviously not 50, guys. That's the generic officer, and he is way better. So, how is he way better? Well, let's see. So, for 90 points, you get 6 wounds, very respectable. Only 2 courage, but still, 2 courage. He's got a white defense die. He has both surges, speed 2. He has advanced combat training. So, he has 2 red and punching. And then he's got his covert blaster, which is his, little thing he shoots that guy with in the beginning. Which is range 1 to 2, pierce 1, 1 red, and 2 white. So, not the bestest gun, but he's got surges, so he can make an extra couple in there. Now, for keywords, here's the fun stuff. He's got Covert Ops. This is a new keyword, which as far as we can tell is when you deploy, so basically in the setup phase, when you slap Cassian on the table, you can treat your rank as operative. If you do, you gain infiltrate. So basically what this means is, during setup, you can, when you're putting Casseon down, or you're picking him up to put him down, basically, you're in the place Casseon phase of your setup, you can be like, Casseon's not a commander. He's an operative, which means he gains infiltrate, and I can put him anywhere. So, there's a couple things this does. First off, obviously, it means that you can downgrade him, I used air quotes there, to an operative, removing him from the commander slot to gain infiltrate. This also means you can do combos with 3 operatives unless the RRG says you can't, but I bet it won't, which could lead to some very, very interesting things. And also, I'm going to assume if you have no commanders left, you have to nominate a new commander, so that probably lets you slap the commander token on some interesting units without having to lose your commander, as it were. And not necessarily lose your command cards, either. So that's interesting. He's got Danger Sense 3, which is basically you get to reroll extra dice for defending, which is good, because he's white without any other defensive abilities. He has Loadout, another new keyword. When you deploy, you can swap any of your equipped upgrades with your set-aside upgrades, I think is the phrase. But yeah, so now we get a sideboard. Just like that one upgrade in X-Wing, we can now sideboard stuff, which is really handy because Cassian has 2 training slots, a gear slot, and an arsenal slot. And I believe that means that you can flip-flop his configuration there. And we'll talk about his weapons and stuff in a second, or at least what we can see. So, then he has Marksman. So, this is another new one. When attacking, you can spend aim tokens to improve the attack die results. And I believe this is it's a fairly good guess that this is what Targeting Rangefinder from the Vital Assets pack does. Go check out that video if you don't understand what I mean. So, basically, if you have aim tokens, you can spend them to presumably go hit crit. And you can do this as many times as you have aim tokens. Hey, guess how you get aim tokens? Cassian is Tactical 1, like Rex. So every time he moves, he gets an aim token. So, all in all, Cassian's a very interesting unit because he feels like a blend of, like, Imperial ethos and Rebel ethos, because he's got, like, Tactical, but he's also got Danger Sense and White defense die. So he's got an aim focus, a move and shoot focus, but also has to rely on, like, Rebel-y tricks. We can see one of his weapons here, one of the configurations, the A280 CFE sniper config. It was in the sniper configuration. So this is still 1 to infinite. So either these guys were already printed by the time they decided to do the range 5 rule, or they're going to test it out to see if it's okay with just on commanders, you know? But this is a red-black. It's cumbersome, so you can't move and shoot. Which I think is an interesting balance because he's got Tactical. Very useful probably if you're using him as a commander, though, because you get to, like, kind of scooch in the back. But it has high velocity, so if you make an attack that only includes that, which is going to be most of the time because he's a commander, they can't spend dodge tokens, and it's got Pierce 1 and Reconfigure, and presumably the other side is, like, the close-up side. Or maybe just the default rifle side, and it costs about 10 points. So, you're looking at probably 100-point Cassian. Now, here's the other interesting thing. We can see another one in the back there, which is presumably Jin's Repeating Blaster, which looks like it, or maybe Jin's SC-14 or whatever, which appears to say, I want to say it says Jin Urso and K2 only, because this is the Repeating Blaster pistol, the light Repeating Blaster that Jin hands K2, which is pictured in Trust Works Both Ways, I believe. So this is a range 1 to 2, and it looks like it's got Pierce 1 and Suppressive, because it's a repeater, and presumably it'll have some decent dice pools. So this looks like this can be a soft buff to Jin, in case you want to run Jin, Cassian, K2, Pathfinders, that kind of shenanigans, which you probably do. It's probably fun. So that will probably help Jin out a little by giving her a little bit more variety in her weapon choices, or it can be used to give K2 a ranged attack, because the article says he has powerful melee, but he probably doesn't have a ranged option by default, because that's kind of a big deal that he only gets a gun at the very end. And then the rest of the pack has Duck and Cover, Hunter, Offensive Push, another training upgrade for 4 points, and I could probably backpatch, a comms upgrade, and a couple gear upgrades that we can't see. So some very interesting stuff there. And also we see what Cassian's 1-pip is, Crack Shot Cassian Andor. Basically when you pop him down, Cassian gains Gunslinger and 1 aim token. At the end of his activation, he may gain 1 suppression token, and he gains 1 standby token. So this is a pretty decent wombo combo for Cassian. He gains Gunslinger, so he can shoot twice. Not at the same target, but he gets to shoot twice. Do a free attack after making a regular attack. He gains an aim token, so he can activate his Marksman, and he doesn't have to move, which means you can aim again if you wanted, and that works perfectly with Cumbersome, so now you can get his Sniper in there, and also then he can gain a suppression token to gain a standby token, which if he's got 2 training slots and he's got Loadout, you can decide to go for Overwatch and give him Sentinel, and so on and so forth. And it gives him a suppression token after he's activated, so you don't need to worry about that to get his danger sense going. All in all, a decent strategy. We'll have to really see what the other couple ones are in there. And I believe the extra command card is something that only K2 can do. He doesn't get, like, a full set of command cards, I guess? We'll have to see. I'm gonna bet one of those cards, though, is, like, Cassian and K2 or something fun like that, like how Chewbacca worked. So yeah, Cassian seems fun. Overall, he's going to be an interesting player. We'll have to see what his full command cards are to see how he applies as just a regular commander. As an operative, he seems pretty good. You downgrade him for Infiltrate, get some Danger Sense, Loadout, Marksman, Tactical 1. You can just move him into place, pew-pew with his gun, get some fun stuff going. He is now a sniper team. Now, he's very expensive, obviously, so there's that, but still. The red-black is a very good dice pool for Infinite Rage, which is why I'm glad it is cumbersome, so you have to be a little more tactical. Alright, let's talk about Iden then. So, Iden, the protagonist of Battlefront 2, in case you didn't know her, she is now going to be a commander, which kind of makes sense. She is the commander of Inferno Squad. And her little droid, Dio, ID-10, will be available to her as a counterpart. We can see this clearly. He's got a counterpart style card. He adds 1 wound and has presumably his electroshock effect. So Iden is 100 points, very clearly. She's a commander. She's got 6 wounds, but 3 courage. That kind of makes sense. Cassian, in the movie, Cassian's willing to like go lickety split a couple of times and bug out fast if the heat is on. And somebody like Jin, dropping Inspire could make him keep more. But Iden's a pretty laser focused. Like, when the Emperor dies like 5 minutes in, well, it's not, it's longer because there's a really long tutorial level, whatever. But, when the Battle of Endor happens and the Death Star blows up, she's just like, helmets on, business as usual, let's go, let's do stuff. So 3 courage for her makes sense. She has red defense dice, she has a surge to hit, and no defensive surge. Speed 2, pretty normal. She also has advanced combat training with 2 red dice, showing that FFG is pretty consistent. I'm personally kind of curious if there's going to be some other effect she gets to change that. I was kind of thought they'd do her little extendable baton thing, kind of like how they did with Jin, because that's how she does melee takedowns in the game, but I guess they just lump that all into 2 red punching dice. And her default weapon is her E11 blaster rifle, which is coincidentally identical to General Veer's E11. Huh, funny how that works. But yeah, it's 1 to 3, 3 white dice, pierce 1. With surge to hit, it's not the worstest attack, but it's not the bestest. So for keywords, she has quick thinking, so she can, as an action, gain an aim token and a dodge token, so she can double up. And she also has nimble. So, remember how I said Cassian felt a little Imperial? Iden feels a little Rebel. She's got nimble and she's got quick thinking. Though I think it makes a lot of sense for her, too. So this, you wondered who the Imperial Jin was. It's definitely Iden. But she also has Covert Ops, Loadout, and Marksman, just like Cassian does. So she can do all that stuff. You can make her an operative instead. You can give her Infiltrate that way. She can swap her weapons around. I'm not quite sure. I guess they decided just to do it for both to keep it fun. But for Cassian, I don't know if Loadout necessarily makes perfect sense. I think it just helps him as a unit. But for Iden, it's hilarious. FFG has once again taken something from quote unquote the screen to the tabletop, because in case you didn't play Battlefront 2, in the campaign, Iden has free ability to swap her loadout between levels when you die, at crates, etc. So it makes perfect sense. It's hilarious. And now we can see she's got a couple of upgrades. We can see one of her possible arsenal upgrades because she has the same upgrade spread as Cassian, 2 true training gear arsenal. So she can take her deal 20A, which is 1 to infinite, 2 black dice. No cumbersome, but it's high velocity and pierce for 15 points. So yeah, that's it's interesting. But got the pierce 1, got the high velocity, makes her a decent sniper build. And we know that it's her TL50 because they said you can get her Imperial Repeater, which appears to have both critical and impact, which is fun, and it's at least range 1. Funny how that works. We'll have to see what the price is. Glad they included that. I don't see reconfigure, which it makes me kind of sad because I don't. Maybe that means there won't be the alt fire in it. But critical and impact is pretty fun. So that should make her, especially with infiltrate, should make Iden a nasty tank hunter unit. Whereas her DL20A is much more equipped to deal with infantry with like Pierce 1 and just pew! Also, by the way, I've noticed I've talked about consistent weapons. Funnily enough, Iden's DL20A is different from the generic DL20A that a rebel gets, and presumably others will. And it leaves open possibilities that if, IG-88 comes in, or I think IG-11 had the same gun. Watch The Mandalorian, kids. It's good. But yes, it it has slightly different spreads and costs. And we know that she comes with Offensive Push Hunter, Overwatch. Comes with a couple comms upgrades and a couple of gear upgrades. One of them is just 3 points. So, overall in a unit, before we talk about her command card, seems alright. A little expensive, but she's definitely in that Krennic kind of tier. On her own, her offense isn't super great, but range 1 to 3, pierce 1, with her surges and stuff, and the ability to give herself an aim token and a dodge token if she needs it. That's going to be a okay damage output, but you probably want to go with one of her special weapons. On the other hand, her defensive abilities are great. This is a Imperial red save unit with nimble and with quick thinking, so she can give herself an aim token which she wants. Like there's no reason if you're gonna aim to not quick thinking and be like, okay, and I also have a dodge token which I can constantly spend, and also I have red dice. Oh, that's just brill. The fact that she can actually do some pretty interesting damage stuff is just a kicker. And that Covert Ops infiltrate, like when you're deploying units and after you've figured out your objectives and stuff, you're gonna be ready to go. That's gonna, you can swap some stuff around. So, her one command card we can see is Pulse Scan, which is one of the things Dio does in the game. He can scan and mark units for you. It's her 1 pip. It only activates Iden Versio. She gains Sharpshooter 2 and 1 aim token at the end of her activation. She gains 1 dodge token and 1 standby token. So basically, Dio marks all the units through cover so she can see them. I'd have to dig into the ROG to see how this works. I think so. Cover is not necessarily additive. Cover beyond a certain point doesn't count. But I don't remember the order of operations, so Sharpshooter 2 either means you ignore all cover absolutely, or it might mean that if you have 3 sources of cover, they still get light cover. I'm not sure. I think it leans towards they don't get any cover at all, period. Which, considering this gives her an aim token to activate Marksman, that's nasty. And then at the end of her activation, she gains a dodge token and a standby token, because she knows they're coming. And obviously, again, she's got 2 training slots, and she's got Loadout. There's no reason why you couldn't think to yourself, ooh, this is going to be a good map for sniping, and be like, boom, Overwatch, I have Sentinel now. Heck, you don't even need her sniper rifle. Unlike Casseon, her default weapon goes out to range 3. Oh, man, I'd have to do some math. They both have Pierce 1, one has high velocity, and one has an extra die. So obviously the damage cap on her E11 is better, but the black dice are more consistent and they can't use dodges. I'd really need somebody to crunch some math on that. Well, obviously, since they have to be in range 3 anyway, you could pick which weapon to use, depending on what situation's better. If they have dodge tokens, you could use the high-velocity gun. If they don't, you could be like, regular blaster rifle for the win. So, yes, this is a very interesting card. Now, we can see in her spread she's got at least one shield token. I'm going to guess that's probably a command card or something that's tied to Dio. I don't know for sure. It's entirely possible that if you pay extra points for Dio, she gains a shield token, which makes her even more robust defense-wise. But then you could recharge it. Especially with the way, say, Pulse Scan is worded, it's also entirely possible that that's just a command card is... if you have... Actually, heck, Pulse Scan doesn't even require you to be on the field, so... It's entirely possible that she has a command that is like, okay, for the rest of this turn, you get a shield token. Because that's one of the many, many things the robot does. The robot does a lot of things depending on what abilities you've got equipped to Iden. Like I said, Loadout makes a lot of sense for her. So overall, what are my thoughts? You guys should know that as a player, I lean towards more Imperial styles. She's pretty good. Pretty good. The higher cost is interesting, but she's got that extra range on, say, Casseon, and that extra courage, which is great. Using her as a commander with a 3 courage bubble is probably going to be worth it a lot of the time. But if it's not, you can do that shenanigans with Covert Ops and Loadout. I like it a lot. I would probably personally prefer whatever's going on with the repeater, but I could see, could see the sniper being useful as well also. Pretty interesting. So, there is the Cassian and Iden packs that have been announced. Exact release window unknown, says Q1, but if they mean that for January, geez, okay, that's way too much stuff in January. Also, this may just be an opportunity for them to start bringing the hard plastics in, because I believe that they have said that this will be our first switch for the old factions, because I believe that even the upgrade packs are still the softer plastics, the PVC, but these are going to be harder plastics on sprues to give you that extra ease of customization and some of the crisper details. Iden, for instance, can be with or without helmet, and obviously, as you can see, her mini is modeled with the repeater, but I'm going to guess they give you different sets of arms for each different weapon if you so choose. Presumably similar for Cassian, he'll have a couple different arm sets. And, those crisper details on K2. So, that's cool, and that apparently wraps up all the December releases, or December announcements for Legion. There will be no December releases at this stage, because everything has been delayed to January. And, that's about it. So, this is the big ending slide, the ending segment. I don't really have anything else to talk about. I'm interested in the new commanders. I really want to see what they do, because they've added a lot of new interesting keywords, which will eventually percolate out to Clone Wars factions. And I know, some people are still like, oh, I'm a faction. I'm sorry. I'm so used to, I think I said this on the Battlefield expansion release video. I'm still used to other industries, or you get other stuff, or heck, don't be interested in video games in March to April of next year. There will be about 50 million of them, which are going to be good, which are all coming out in like the same 2 weeks. And it's rough, and I've already pre-ordered 2 of them, oh my. But yeah, so like, I can't really get too rustled myself about this, especially not since these were known. They will eventually get there, and there were pretty big gaps and stuff. Now it's interesting. So they said that they're moving to 8 products a wave. So if we assume, let me look at the numbers. So where's vital assets in this block? So assets is 65. So Casseon is 59. Iden is 60. The Phase 2s and the B2s are 61 and 62. And then the tanks are 63 and 64. That's 5. The Battlefield expansion is 65. That's 6. So, that means there's still... Because I'm gonna... Luke and Vader are 56 and 57. I'm gonna assume that they are not... Because there's a product number for the bunker in the middle. So I'm gonna assume they were not a part of the same design wave. As it were. So I'm going to presume that's 2 product codes left in the wave. I would bet that's probably Special Forces. It's just we're not close enough for Clone Wars, I should say. That's Special Forces for Clone Wars. I would say that's probably not close enough to release to be announced yet. Maybe because it's presumably going to be Q4. So they don't want to necessarily get too far ahead. So keep an eye out for that. And so I'll just go ahead and hop off because I got other stuff to do. I won't take up too much more of your time. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to give this video a like if you liked it. If you have any comments, your thoughts on Casseon or Iden, what do you hope for K2? Because he's clearly got his own unit card. Let me know in the comment section down below. You can also join our Discord. The link's in the description on our channel page. And of course, if you are new here, please subscribe to our channel so you can always get our latest videos, and considering that bell for notifications, so you always know when we post a new video. And of course, it gets to the front of the show. Consider supporting us on Patreon. You get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies. It really helps us out. Very helpful and useful. And yes, I will see you guys for the next Legion video. It'll probably be a while, unless they start rolling out previews for other stuff, but I don't think they will, because we've previewed the Escape Pod and the Operatives, because those were originally planned to come out earlier, but got pushed back. So we'll see about stuff, and but stay tuned for other news about other things and other products, and I'll keep you in the loop. You can also check out our show, What's Up? That's our regular weekly podcast with me and the channel co-host Lucky, where we talk about all kinds of things, including Star Wars stuff sometimes. And alrighty, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye as always.